Hello everybody, my name is Elliot and welcome back to Advective Weather. Today we're going to be taking one final look at Tropical Cyclone Belal, which is currently barreling towards the island of La Réunion. So, Tropical Cyclone Belal has maintained tropical cyclone strength since the last update, and is expected to maintain this strength through landfall. Life-threatening impacts are possible in La Réunion with extreme rainfall, totals generally upwards of 300 millimeters and even higher in mountainous regions. Very heavy surf along the coastlines and damaging hurricane-force winds are all still very possible for the island. The government of La Réunion has issued a purple alert, which is the highest level of cyclone alert that they issue. Less severe impacts are also possible for Mauritius, including heavy rainfall, totals generally around 50 millimeters with locally higher totals. High surf along the coastlines and gale-force winds are still possible as the cyclone passes to the south of that island. Several days out, impacts to Rodrigue are also possible, although large track uncertainties do mean that it is far too early to forecast specific impacts to the island at this time. So, looking at the current information, 0 UTC today, January 15th, Belal was located at 20.5 degrees south, 54.5 degrees east. 1 minute sustained winds by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center have reached 90 knots, with a minimum central pressure of 968 millibars. Meteo France Réunion has analyzed the storm to have 10-minute sustained winds of 80 knots and a minimum central pressure of 966 millibars. So looking at the conditions that the storm will have until landfall, it should be in a fairly favorable environment with low to moderate wind shear and warm sea surface temperatures in the final hours leading up to landfall in La Réunion. However, shear is likely to increase after the cyclone passes La Réunion, weakening the system, although the storm may start to level off in intensity later in the forecast period. There is some uncertainty as to that, as models do show different scenarios, although we will get to that. As for now, the cyclone does look to be a little bit sheared, with much of the deep convection being sort of tilted off to the eastern side of the system. Looking at the official forecast from Meteo France, the system is expected by both agencies to peak near or over La Réunion, with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecasting a Category 2 equivalent storm, and Meteo France La Réunion expecting a high-end tropical cyclone on their scale. Landfall is anticipated around 12Z, which is 4 p.m. local time today, in La Réunion by Meteo France. Both agencies also do expect a northward turn and stalling later in the forecast period, with Rodrigue potentially being implicated in the cyclone's long-term track. Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone is basically very similar to Meteo France's cone. As you can see, landfall on La Réunion followed by a little bit of northward turn and some stalling. Looking at the weather models, model guidance do suggest that Belal is likely to impact La Réunion. Basically, all indications point to the core directly impacting land to some degree, so even if it does make a last-minute turn and dodges a direct landfall, we are still likely going to see some pretty significant impacts in La Réunion. Mauritius, thankfully, should be dodging the worst of the storm, as the storm is going to be passing to the south of it, and the northern quadrant is generally the weakest of the storm. So, Mauritius, you may have dodged a bullet, but just keep wary. GFS and Euro do both suggest a stalling out once the storm is southwest of Rodrigue, and indicate that a steadying off or re-strengthening is possible at this time, although this is dependent on which scenario you do look at. Most importantly out of these things, the slow motion of the cyclone could result in a swath of 300 millimeter plus rainfall totals over La Réunion, and topographically enhanced rainfall near mountainous areas could result in some even higher totals than that. So comparing the GFS and the Euro, both start out fairly similar, although as you can see the Euro to the right weakens the storm quite a bit faster. That's likely due to moving into a bit of a drier air mass or maybe some shear, but as you can see the GFS does actually have it re-strengthening a bit after it does make landfall in La Réunion. Now, a thing to keep in mind with the GFS compared to the Euro is that the GFS is not an ocean-coupled model, meaning that it can't really factor in upwelling, and the slow motion of the modeled storm in the GFS does suggest that re-strengthening may not actually be as significant as is shown in the GFS model. Alright, before I leave you guys tonight, what can you do at this point in time during the storm's passage? You should be sure to remain in a safe building, ideally in the interior room in the lowest floor possible, although you should be prepared to seek higher ground if your area does become flooded. Always be checking your local forecast for the latest information. For the Southwest Indian Ocean, Meteo France Réunion does issue the official updates on cyclones, with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center also issuing unofficial updates. And if unsure about what to do regarding evacuation orders, always consult your local officials. They know your area best, and they're the ones who are going to be able to help you if things do go wrong. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to like and subscribe, and share this with someone you know if they are in the path of the storm. And we do have a Discord server, so you could chat with myself and the rest of our team about the weather. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we hope you stay safe out there.